Hi, everyone. Thanks for joining us today for another Mathematic webinar. Today, we are talking about developing safe and effective medical devices with model-based system engineering. And I'm pleased to present this webinar today from Dassault Systems. If you haven't met me, I'm Nicole Owens from Mathematic. I'm our Director of Marketing Communications. And if you're not familiar with our organization, we're a membership-based trade association for the medical device industry that really works to bolster our ecosystem in New England. We do that in a number of different ways through connection, education, events like this, advocacy, and awareness. I do have a quick housekeeping note before I turn it over to our presenters today. This webinar is being recorded, so anyone who registered for it will receive the recording after the webinar. And we are also going to allocate some time for Q&A at the end. So please go ahead and put your questions in at any time in the Q&A function at the bottom of the screen, and we will make sure to answer those when we get to that portion of the presentation. Now I am pleased to turn the presentation over to Fabian and Thomas from Dassault. Thanks so much.
Thank you, Nicole. So I'm Fabian Xu. I'm from Dassault Systems, which is a software IT company. So I have the pleasure today to share with you, with my colleague, Thomas, a presentation about the model-based systems engineering for medical device. So sorry if I look a bit tired. I just flew over from Tokyo yesterday. So it's sort of like 1 a.m. for me. I'll try to do my best. All right, so let's start. So we'll start today with some industry challenges and pain points that we observed through our interviews with our customers. And also we'll explain what the system engineering and what the model-based systems engineering are. And then we'll introduce ourselves and explain what kind of solution we can bring to you before the Q&A. So what we have observed in the market with our customers, some key activities that we are very, you are all very, to you are very important. So of course, the safety and effectiveness, the development cost, time to market, and suggest project success. So today, for any project, we have at least 200 to 600 million of cost for a single medical device to be recorded when there's a problem. So it's very important to know how we can improve the safety and the treatment outcomes. And then also we observe that the development cost is from the development cost, more than 65% are spent on clinical testings. So it will be important also to know how to reduce this physical testing and still be compliant to the safety. And then in terms of time to market, more than 25% of the time are spent on this design and development only. So how you can improve this R&D efficiency and accelerate time to market. And also quite interestingly, once a design of a prototype is confirmed, from the non-clinical stage to a marketable complex device, only 14%, less than 14% of them succeed until the end. So it's also very interesting to know how we can increase the rate of success for the new project. So from our observation with our customers, we have noticed these two trends. On one side, we have this industrial progress, industrial revolution, with the first one with the mechanical engineering and the electrification and mechatronic system with a IT control system in the third wave of the IT system. And then in the fourth wave of industrialization, we have these connected systems where we can do long distance surgery. And also we have all these wearables that we all carry today with us. And then also we observed from our customers that they are also they struggle also to deal with the different markets, international markets, with their own different regulations, which lead to a complex fleet of portfolio of product to adapt to answer to the specific requirements of each market. And on top of these two big trends, we also see that the supply chain is getting more complex, with the part suppliers worldwide coming from different areas. And also we have some specific in the more niche market with the material science dedicated to personalized medicals. Okay. So these are the trends that we observe on the market, and let's see how we can deal with it. Our customers are facing today these challenges. So it's very complex to develop complete and coherent requirements for internal product development or to define specifications to the suppliers. It's complex to address the international market with their diverse regulations, and also the complexity of the product itself, the portfolio and the supply chain that we saw before. And of course, for any company, we need to introduce the product as soon as possible on the market to seize the market share and to increase the return on the investment. And of course, we also have an increasing trend to use technology to shorten the test campaigns, physical ones replaced by digital ones. We'll see later in our explanation. And also we have to control more effectively the cost and the time scale of any project. And in the medical device industry, of course, we need to ensure consistent quality to ensure patient safety and to avoid the product recall and brand damage, which can be very costly. It's also observed that our customers have trouble to capitalize knowledge and to ensure that the knowledge is transferred to the next generation. So let's see how the systems engineering and MBSE can address some of these challenges. What is systems engineering? Albert Einstein famously said that if he had one problem to solve, he will spend 55 minutes over an hour to think about the problem, and then the last 5 minutes to think about the solutions. So that's the basic essence of the systems engineering, which usually is represented by a V. So on the left side, you have the design phase, starting from a requirement analysis. The requirement can come from a contract, some performance for new product, but also the safety regulations, which you cannot overcome, even if your product is very efficient. And then based on these requirements, we develop the functional analysis and the risks and hazard analysis, which are still on the non-physical, on the theoretical level, abstract level, sorry. And then from this abstract functional analysis, we develop a system architecture, thinking about what kind of functions, what kind of logical objects we need to answer to this, to achieve this function, which will satisfy the requirements. And then once the system architecture of all the parts are defined, we then think about the hardware design and software design. We also think about the constructability and operability studies about the future life of the product. And then on the other side, on the right-hand side of the V shape, we implement it. We do different levels of integration, verification, and validation from smaller parts to subsystems and then to the bigger system. At the end, we apply the product to get safety approval and performance validation to satisfy the customer's needs. So inside of this V shape, it's very common to observe, and it's quite a general statistic that we observe that more than 70% of the errors are introduced during the design phase and some of the unit integration mistakes. However, these mistakes are only detected largely at the system integration, and a lot of them also detected at the operation and maintenance. which lead to all these costly recalls. Indeed, the cost to fix the error increased by tenfold when you pass to the next stage of the validation side. And once it's on the market, you need to record it, can be very, very expensive. So what is important to remember from this chart is that more than 70% of the errors are introduced during the design phase, whereas 80% of the errors are detected late and at very high cost to be corrected. So what is systems engineering? On this chart, we have the different life cycle phases of the typical project design, starting from requirement and specification. Then we go into basic design, detailed design, validation, and then when we manufacture it, and then it's in operation. So in the traditional engineering approach, we spend a little bit time on the requirements and then a lot of time on the design and manufacturing later. So the systems engineering approach, as Einstein said, we spend more time on the requirement and specification analysis, and a bit which can be viewed as an additional effort upfront, but it will allow us to save a lot of time later on during the detailed design, manufacturing, and service, because we understand so well the requirement and the objectives that we are working for. This system thinking also lead to an organizational transformation by putting more resource and effort upfront. So according to the International Council of Systems Engineering, an effective use of systems engineering can save 10 to 20% of the project budget, but also a lot of mistakes and especially the recalls that we will have which can be very, very expensive in our industry. So we saw what systems engineering is, and probably a lot of you are already thinking, okay, I do it every day. That's my normal way of doing. However, we still observe that today in the industry and in many other industries as well, the specifications and requirements are always written in the document with natural language, which is subject to interpretations. And this document-based approach is not fit for multidisciplinary concurrent work, meaning that several disciplines are working in parallel. For example, between the software and the hardware design, usually they work in parallel, and there's a lot of alignment that needs to do constantly, and it's leading to a lot of mistakes and non-alignment. And also, it's very difficult to ensure information consistency and completeness between documents. For a typical project, you have thousands of documents which contain each thousands of information or data inside, and one single data can appear in several documents, between specification to high-level specification to supplier specification, and all the safety documents that you need to provide to the safety authority. So it's almost impossible humanly to ensure the consistency and completeness of information between the thousands of documents. And it's also difficult to trace requirement to its application today, and also to analyze the impact of a modification. It's always time consuming. So from this traditional systems engineering today, thanks to the technology development in IT, in the last 10, 20, 15 years, we have the model-based systems engineering, or MBSE, which use IT models and providing stronger capability to address complex systems and also systems of systems. Like today, we have this cyber space. We have all these connected items, which are systems which form a whole, which is a system of systems. And the model-based system engineering will help us to easily trace requirement application in order to achieve design efficacy. And also we have this also helps us to have a deeper understanding of systems use case context, its contextual use case and behavior. So that's something we will see later in the demonstration, which you cannot do on paper. And it's also very easier to analyze the impact and mitigation solutions when there's a change or modification, correction to do. And today, thanks to the development of IT solutions, we can have executive models on top of the system model, which will provide modular architecture at the system level, and will also provide us capability to simulate behaviors so that we can validate the trade-off of the best option among several possibilities, design possibilities. And it also will help us to have traceability from requirement until component level. And then we will, so that it will reduce significantly late correction costs and to better control product schedule, cost, and quality. So once we now have a better understanding of systems engineering and MBAC, so how Dassault Systèmes can help. So first, let me explain introduce who are we. Dassault Systèmes is a French IT software company. We're a pure software company. We don't do any hardware. We are 40-year-old now, and we have more than 20,000 passionate collaborators located in 135 countries. We are very long-term driven strategy, and we have many developments in IT. So our belief is that the virtual world can extend and improve the real world, even for the life science. In our 40 years of history, we started by doing 3D design to show a physical product in its 3D model. And then this was in early 80s. And then in the 10 years after, in 1989, with Boeing, we modeled a digital mock-up of in-type airplane with its systems inside, electrical system, with its mechanical system in this digital model in 89. And 10 years after, with the Toyota, we introduced the product lifecycle management to include also the supply chain and also the way how to manufacture these products that we designed 10 years earlier. And then in the 2020, 10 years, you can see that we have a pace of about 10 years to progress in our philosophy and our application. In 2021, we extended our 3D experience platform into digital city, in smart city with Singapore city. And so that we introduce on top of the manufacturing, also the emotions and the experience aspect of the final design. And then 10 years after, with the acquisition also of Medidata, we started our third branch, which is a virtual twin experience of humans. So today, inside of the life science domain, we have more than 10,000 active customers. All the top 20 biopharma and medical technology device manufacturers are our customers. And more than 50% of the new drugs and medical devices are designed partially with our solutions or fully with our solutions. So today we have more than 4,000 professional colleagues who are contributing to the life science domain, sharing a single common purpose. And we invested more than $8 billion during the last 40 years for this purpose. So I passed my hand to my colleague, Thomas, to explain to you how concretely we can help with our digital solutions to the MBAC approach.
Thanks, Fabian. Yeah, so now that we've gone over MBSC, I'd like to show you, if I get to the right slide, sorry, how we approach MBSC with the 3D Experience platform. But before I go into MBSC, I'd like to show you what the 3D Experience platform is and how you can use it in your company. So this is the 3D Experience platform. I'm in the browser, and you can see that there's a blue band. This shows us this is the 3D Experience platform. And in this environment, I'm able to collaborate with different teams in the organization, but I'm also able to access applications that are specific to my role. So for instance, if I go to the compass here, this is what we call the compass, I have access to these roles. And so for instance, if I'm a requirements engineer, I'm able to access a toolbox that allows me to do my job as a requirements engineer. And so depending on your role, you have access to different applications, but all of these applications are hosted in one platform and use the same data model and this a single source of truth. So that's a 3D experience platform. It's also something which is really flexible. So for instance, this is a tool called Swim, which allows us to collaborate with different people. We create communities where we can create posts and things like that. But I can also, in the same dashboard, in a different tab, I can also do my engineering work. So for instance, here I've got access to a 3D model of a medical device that we'll be seeing a bit more during the demo. And basically I've got access, so we access these applications using widgets that you can see here that I can move around. And so my workspace is completely modular and I can access the applications that I want. So for instance, here, I can see my physical product, my mechanical design. I can see my requirements structure. And don't worry if this doesn't make sense, we'll have a look at the demo more in depth. And this is my test management. And all of this is completely up to me as a worker, which applications I need. And so the platform is not just a place to access my apps for engineering, it's a business platform at its core. And this is how we organize our different families of applications. And we've got families of applications which cover all of the different value streams that you might encounter. So for instance, if we start at the bottom of this infinity loop here, we've got the imagine value stream where we've got a family of products that are dedicated to concept design. Today, we'll be focusing on the solutions called engineered to cure and the solutions called licensed to cure. And these are a family of products that allow you to develop safe and effective medical devices with collaborative design and simulation. And all of this is within an enterprise-wide data integrity, so you can have full control over your quality and your regulatory compliance. And just to emphasize the point that we cover many different value streams, although today we'll be focusing on MBSE, we have solutions that go from the concept phase all the way to the end of life of a medical device. So as you can see here, we have solutions that answer the needs of different teams in an organization, such as the R&D team, manufacturing engineers, but also regulatory affairs. But today we'll be focusing on the engineered to cure and looking at MBSE. So why would you do MBSE with a 3D experience platform? So first of all, you'll be benefiting from a best-in-class model-based systems engineering solution, which has been proven in other industries such as aerospace and the automotive industry. So we've been working with those industries to really push the boundaries of MBSE. And this is really going to allow you to have a reliable and safe product. Thanks to the digital continuity in the platform, you're going to be able to have traceability from your requirements all the way to your end product and even into manufacturing and services, thanks to this digital backbone within the platform, which is incredibly valuable for your audit trail, your quality and your compliance. And this is in fact represented, so the outputs of your MBSE, we can manage within a family of solutions for your regulatory pathway. So you'll be able to have seamless regulatory compliance and submission while doing so. So we've got, for instance, applications for the device history file, but also your FDA market approval to manage that regulatory pathway. And finally, as I've already mentioned, it's really a business and collaborative platform. So you're going to be able to connect all of your stakeholders across the enterprise with a single source of truth, and yeah, to accelerate your innovation and your time to market. So what does MBSE with a 3D experience platform look like? So we'll be going into a demo which cover these different steps. So from requirements management to show that we have a model-based approach to requirements management, which shall enable you to manage the life cycle. So we'll see that. We'll see how you can leverage our solution for systems architecture to go from stakeholder requirements to system requirements, and make sure that all of the design of your device is meeting the requirements that have been set, and meet the stakeholder requirements and the intended use of your device. We'll see also the system's traceability, so how you can trace between the different sections, so from your requirements to your functional architecture, all the way to your logical elements and your product. We'll see how you can manage your validation and verification test plan with our solutions as well, and how you can leverage simulation for testing and early prototyping. So let's go. Just before I do, however, excuse me. All right. So in the interest of time, we're going to go through a video because otherwise it would take too much time, but hopefully this will give you an idea of the different solutions we have for model-based systems engineering. So we're back here, so hopefully you recognize this. This is 3D Swim, where we're going to be able to collaborate with different people in organizations and generate ideas. So in this context, we're generating stakeholder requirements that will be included within our specification. And this can be done collaboratively, and you can move the maturity of this idea, for instance, as you iterate on these requirements. But this is our requirements engineering solution. As you can see, it's not static text in a document. It's not document based. Here you have a structure where you can see these little symbols. These little symbols represent a model or a data point that we're able to manage within the platform, and they each have their life cycle. So here what we're seeing is a requirement specification for our product, which is a medical device. And we want the medical device, which is a wearable medical device, to have a particular battery life. So we're going to be creating a requirement for that. And what we're seeing here is that we're able to create, to manage the life cycle and create a change action. So that's what we call a change action, which means that when you make a change on one requirement, wherever it's instantiated elsewhere, it's going to update elsewhere. So it's not like a static text in an Excel spreadsheet, for instance, where when you make a change, you have to figure out what document it affects and make those changes manually. This is going to have full continuity between all of this. So we've created a requirement for battery discharge after 5 injections, and we'll see later how we manage the testing of that requirement. But before I do so, I'd like to show you our systems architecture solution. And this is based on CATIA Magic. What we're able to do with this application is to study the intended use of the device, the different stakeholders, the different use cases, and ensure that the final design meets the intended use of the device. So there's several tools to do this. And although here the interface has changed, there is still model-based, and we have continuity with the platform. So for instance, here we've got requirements. So these are just stakeholder requirements, and these can be seen in the platform as well. There are different, so this is a really flexible tool where you can create different types of diagrams, such as the system context. So here we're able to identify the different stakeholders or the different systems that are at play with this medical device. So for instance, there's the patient, the physician, which is prescribing the treatment, and all of the different elements of the device. So in this case, it's a device which injects a drug so that the patient can do this at home. And you can create what we call use cases to study how this device might be used by different stakeholders. So for instance, here we find our patient again, our physician, and how these stakeholders are interacting. And we can do this for all the types of use cases that we think our device can be used. For instance, the difference between an adult and a child using the device, things like that. And after time, so with these tools, we're able to generate an architecture of the device. And this really is fundamental in system engineering. So here we're seeing that thanks to the structure, the architecture, we're able to understand the problem fully. Okay, so this is still, when we're thinking about requirements, thinking about use cases and the different stakeholders, we're trying to understand the problem before we find the solution. And this is really at the core of our solution. And so here we're seeing different types of architecture, such as functional architectures. So from the requirements, we're able to generate functions that the device should answer, and the logical elements that are going to fulfill those functions. And so what we've been able to do is go from these high-level stakeholder requirements to detailed requirements that engineering teams can use to design and engineer the device. And what we're seeing here is you can see the coverage between your requirements and the architecture. And this ensures that the architecture that you've created answers all of the requirements. And this architecture, so from the requirements to the functional elements and the logical elements, we're able to see them in context of the device. So this is what we're seeing here. We're back in the 3D experience platform per se, and we're able to study these elements of the device. Okay, and here the device is already, it's an initial design, shall we say, of the device, and we're going to see how we can create a test plan. But before we do, you can see the traceability between all of the different elements. As I was saying, thanks to a model-based approach, all of the data that we've generated in the system's architecture, we're able to capture within the platform. So for instance, here we've got the requirements, you've got your functional architecture and your logical architecture, and you can see the links between all of these elements. And so you can make sure that all of the requirements are met. And this is really useful as well for capturing requirements that are based on standards, for instance. You're able to import documents within our solution and extract the requirements from those documents and link those to the requirement structure so that you're sure that the requirements for your product cover the standards that are meant to be covered. And finally, it's also a space where you can see the final design. So here you've got the main assembly, the symbol is a product, and here is some code. So you can see the multidisciplinary work of your engineering teams and the link with the requirements. So this is some code, for instance, for the control system, and we'll see how we arrived at that. So once we've got your requirements, your functions, and your logical architecture, you're going to want to start, and even before, you can start thinking about how you're going to test these and what are the different tests that you're going to need to do so that your requirements are met. And we have an application for this called validation and verification strategy. And what you're seeing here is the creation of a test case, for instance. So here, the battery charge time test, I'm able to link that test to a requirement and add a script to that test. Okay. So this is what we mean by continuity. This requirement was defined in another application, probably by another person, but the test engineer can have that requirement and can have the latest version of that requirement very easily. And again, in the sense of in terms of traceability, we're able to see, much like the architecture, what tests cover which requirements in a test requirement matrix. So for instance, here, there are different requirements, and these are on the top are the tests that validate or verify those requirements. So here we're going to create a test. I'll skip through a bit, but we're going to create a test to check that the battery can sustain 5 injections. And we're back in our, so we go back to our logical architecture. We go to the component which needs to be tested, and in this case, it's the battery system. And we're going to set up an experiment thanks to system behavior simulation. So this is a tool. So this is part of our simulation suite of tools where we're able to do multi-physics modeling of a medical device. So for instance, here we've got the control system for the device, but we've also got the model of the battery. And we can create simulations to test these things. And this can vastly accelerate your product development pipeline by leveraging simulation. And we can get results a lot quicker than if we did physical testing. And so from these test results, we can generate reports as well for documentation. And that helps with the audit trail as well. Now that we've run the simulation, we can go back to the results. So this is the test that we've assigned to a test engineer, and we can basically say whether or not the test failed or not, based on a pass-fail criteria. It could be a certain threshold needs to be met. It depends on the type of test that you're doing. And again, this is all model-based, so it has a life cycle, and you can track the evolution of your test execution and your test plan. And so that's mostly our solutions for MBSE, but we have a lot more for simulation. And so the tests that you would like to conduct can be done partially with our different types of simulations. So here what we're seeing, we don't have time to go into the details, but just to give you a quick overview of the different types of simulation that are doable in the platform. So we've got mechanical simulation and also fluidic simulations, such as you're seeing here. And all of these can be leveraged to do part of your testing and accelerate. For instance, you could do a few tests in simulation, and then that allows you to accelerate your prototyping. You don't have to rely so much on physical prototyping. We've also got very exciting solutions in in silico testing. So within the context of a virtual human model. So that's what we're seeing here. We're able to simulate the injection of the drug, for instance. So this is a vein here, and we're able to inject the drug and see the flow of drug within the context of the human. And lastly, we've got electromagnetic simulation as well. So with a 3D Experience platform, you're going to be able to run your model-based systems engineering activities, but also benefit from the platform, which is a business platform, which allows you to collaborate with different teams in the organization. You're able to bring together teams from different disciplines and make sure that your device is both safe and effective. So thank you. I'll pass over to Fabian to wrap up.
Thank you, Thomas, for the demo. It was very impressive. So to remind all the information, I know that systems engineering, it's a lot of information. You can keep clicking, Thomas, please. And so we've seen that we have a 1D single line diagram for connecting all the systems. And then also we saw some 3D simulations which are dependent on the geometry. And also in a further step, we can also go to add the time dimension to the 4th dimension to check if how you manufacture step by step your product and how it can be operated and repaired in the future. And also, but the most important of all, if you click once more, please, we have also this requirement model and the functional architecture, which is quite new in the industry. Next, please. So to summarize, some takeaways for the medical device, we can see that we saw that model-based systems engineering is an integrated model-based solution, which allows you to manage product, portfolio, regulation, and supply chain with a structured model view, which gives you more visibility on where you modify, where you change, and the impact analysis. It can also have a better reuse of the proven design assets and help to capitalize companies' knowledge within the company. And it also ensures that the requirements and regulations are properly executed and fully met until the product physical level. And also we have a better way to ensure that cross-disciplinary collaboration is met and there's no inconsistency between the different disciplines' work. Finally, we also improve the product reliability and performance so that we can increase innovation and value delivered to the product. And so that we can achieve a consistent quality and control effectively the project cost and schedule that we saw on the first page, which are very complicated today in the industry to control. So to summarize, coming back to a similar cartoon to imitate what Einstein better said, we should spend more time to think about and analyze problems instead of jumping into the solution so that we don't lose the full view. And if you want to know more about our solutions, please check this link that we'll paste into the chat about life science and healthcare industry solutions that Dassault Systèmes can provide to you. Thank you. So we are on time for our Q&A.
Okay, so if you have, so we've already got some questions coming through, but if you have any questions, you can use the Q&A panel to do so. So there you go. So we have a first question from Geoffrey. When you update requirements in your requirements tool, how are those changes propagated to Magic Draw? We have what we call a powered by connector. So basically, there's just it's just a small user interface that says, well, push the requirements to CATIA Magic, which is what we're calling it now. So yeah, it's just a simple press of a button to synchronize the two, but it's still the same data. So Agnew says, what about mechanical simulation tests like drop and impact tests? So maybe we answered your question in the video, but so we have mechanical simulation. So that's with our Simulia domain applications. So here you can see different, like it's really just an overview, but here there's different drop testing with different types of materials. So you can see the results from that. But our mechanical simulation extends a lot further than that. So thank you for your question. So how do we model software in 3ds? So software, so you can have your systems architecture that includes your software components. So in your logical architecture, you could have your mechanical, electrical software components. And all you need to do is interface with a ALM solution that you might have. So we are working with a few so application lifecycle management providers. So it's syncing your software with the architecture. So yeah, thank you for your question.
And for the QSR compliance, we have a few articles on our website that I will not develop here. So it's a quite specific topic proper to the medical industry. And we are in collaboration with FDA. Yeah. How do you integrate into 3D automatic link? I think you already answered to this one. Did we miss any questions?
So there's a follow-up question with the link between CATIA Magic and the requirements. So there's a two-way connection between requirements and CATIA Magic. But once you've got your architecture, as we saw in the demo, we're able to retrieve the functional and logical architecture within the platform. So the work that you've done in CATIA Magic, you can retrieve within the platform. So there's a question about 3D tolerance. Yes, I mean, I believe we have, I'm not familiar, but I believe we do have solutions for that. So, I mean, historically, we come from the mechanical domain and we work with leading companies in that area. So I wouldn't be surprised if we had solutions for that.
And regarding Michael's question about software validation according to the medical medtech standards, yeah, we do have a few ways to combine our different solutions to make this achievable. I will discuss with my investigate with my other colleagues and come back to you. All right.
Hey. Yeah, so thank you for, I don't see any more questions. So thank you for your attention and for being here. Hopefully you found it valuable. As you said, if you want more information, you can follow this link to our website to learn more about our solutions. And with that, I don't know if Fabian, if you've got last words, but otherwise Nicole can wrap us up.
Yeah, Nicole just shared the link into the group, so you can just click on the link to find more.
All right. Well, thank you so much, Fabian and Tomas, for taking the time to join us today and share some really insightful and valuable information. We had tons of questions, so obviously people are engaged. Again, if you'd like to follow up, please feel free to use that link. We will be sending out the recording after the fact. And please feel free to go to massmedic.com and see what events we have coming up. I'd like to again say thank you to Dassault Systems for sponsoring today's webinar. We cannot put on great educational content like this without your support. So please keep that in mind, that MassMedic can be one of your distribution channels for your expertise. Thanks so much. Have a great day.
Thank you.
Thanks, everyone. Thank you.
Bye-bye.